Hey everyone, Press Dior, and this is Final Fantasy Tactics 1.3. And once again, this will hopefully be the last video where I have to do post commentary. Anyway, I didn't actually the previous video I didn't actually show the war trophies. I obviously talked about it in post commentary, but I'm just making the adjustments. One is a new katana, the Kiyomori, slightly stronger, so I went ahead and equipped it to Forge. And the rest of it's pretty just nothing special. Ninja Edge, and there was that Shuriken, which Shurikens are useless unless we happen to start using things like Throw that you get from ninjas. Anyway, this upcoming fight is definitely one of the more difficult ones. This involves Undead, which I've gone over before. Ghosts tend to have Blade Grasp, which makes it very difficult to hit them physically. And also, at least, I don't know which monster it is or which character it is, but one of them has the ability known as Monster Skill, which makes it so all nearby monsters learn a new, more powerful ability that they can use, and in this battle they use it quite a bit. So yeah, I'm going to be showing off well, a lot of mistakes and some crazy luck, I guess. Anyway, so for this fight, I'm taking Forge and Aaron. Forge's elemental is 100% accurate, so it bypasses everything. Same thing for Aaron's dances. The biggest issue is there's the Blade Grasp. The other issue is that little bonus skill they get. The bonus skill is a buff that will apply haste. It's a 100% chance to hit, which is stupid, but it's haste, shell, protect, and innocence. So haste we already know about. Makes you get faster ATB, or faster CT turns rather. Protect and shell get reduce damage from physical and magical attacks by half. And then innocence sets your faith to 0. And what that does is it makes it so any magic that hits them will either always miss or do 0 damage. Now, the other effect that having 0 faith does is any sort of magical attacks they cast will also have 0% chance to hit, as well as 0 damage. So, yeah. So they essentially have some ghosts that have pretty much maximize evasion against physical attacks that can apply an innocence buff that will make it so they're immune to magic as well. So, yeah. As far as options as to bypass things like that, you can still use elemental, you can still use dances, and you can still use items on them. So you can use things like X potions to do like 90 damage at a time type thing. I brought in Shun, and obviously I brought in Hatanaka Koro. I was hoping to I don't know what I was trying to do with Shun. I was trying to do some buffs. It was kind of a poor choice because this fight goes pretty quick. All the enemies on this battle have teleport. Also, we do have Rafa as a guest. Unfortunately, she's kind of just there. She's not going to really do much for us. So yeah, biggest issue I did with this fight is I kind of pushed forward when I should have just moved all my characters back. Pretty much as far as dance is concerned, I'm just going to do Wiznabis because that's all, I just need to do damage. Some things to always be concerned about for Undead is some of them might have HP Restore. Out of this fight, only one of the Dark Wizards has HP Restore. Speaking of Dark Wizards, there's Dark Wizards and Dark Time Mages. They are essentially just the same as their class, but they are undead versions. They have innate float, and they all have teleport. For those who don't remember, teleport is quote-unquote infinite range move, but if the further you move outside your movement range, there's a % chance that it will fail. I've never seen an AI I've never seen an AI character fail a teleport before, so they always do it based off their movement. Anyway, I'm just right now going through all of their stuff. Nothing too special. I mean, the biggest issue is the fact they know Time Magic and Black Magic, and they know some big spells. Both the wizards know Dark Holy, and both Time Mages know Meteor, which are essentially the highest forms of attack for their respective paths of magic. I've started dancing. Rafa's moving in, but doesn't do anything. And here's this buff. Oh, that only has 84% chance to hit. Go figure. But it always hits. I've never seen it miss. And as you can see, Innocence, Haste, Protect, and Shell. Move Zen. Lastly buff to the another undead. Yep. And these guys have Blade Grass as innate abilities, so yeah. Good luck trying to hurt these things. Their spirit attacks have 100% accuracy. I've never seen them miss. Actually, I think it's magic based, so magic evasion might work, maybe? But I don't even remember. Pretty much all the times I've seen spirits be thrown, it had 100% accuracy. Another mistake, of course, was I pushed in with Hato no Kokoro, which, I mean, using her to take hits and stuff is usually fine, but in this fight they outnumber me, and they're far more aggressive, and I also hit for only like 24 damage. I didn't do anything, which was, I think it was just a bad combination of Zodiac symbols, I think. I think it's one of those situations where you had the same Zodiac symbol and the same gender. So yeah, this fight's not going to be pleasant, to say the least. Fortunately, the AI is taking its time thinking because there's a lot of teleportations going on. Alright, slow. Alright, didn't hit, which is good. That's probably the only good thing that's happened. Yeah, the other thing about this fight that just makes it dangerous is the fact you know, we've been showing how powerful magic can be, and at this point, this particular battle, they are going to show how powerful it can be used against us. The Wizard Abyss is pretty good. The biggest issue is you need to, you know, buy enough time to let the Wizard Abyss kind of shred everything. Because, like I said, only one of these enemies has HP restore. Rebecca's going to cast Don't Move, which worked. Which really limited my options as far as what I could do with Forge that turn. I did Battle Song because I was doing Battle Song to buff the dances and to buff the elemental. But it's not. It's not fast enough to be worthwhile in this particular fight, unfortunately. So that's either Blizzard or Cyclone. I think it's Blizzard. And that's Dark Holy, which is going to do 308 damage. All of the casters have white robes, so my options of hurting them with magic is pretty limited. Holy, of course, does extra damage, but Holy is also a very slow spell. Like checking to see if there's anything I can do for Rafa. There's pretty much nothing. And I know Blizzard's coming, so I kind of had to make a decision. I also show off that whole Dark Holy would heal them. So yeah, 11 turns to get a Holy off is not going to really do much for us, unfortunately. And Spirit Surge is just not enough damage. So yeah, like I said, my options are not fantastic. And then I think I moved Ramza towards the center, and you know I try to make sure I don't move into the blizzard, which is why I took that back. But I didn't really have much of a plan at this point. I was pretty much kind of already accepted this as a loss. It was already looking pretty bad. All my positionings are bad. I moved to a position where I wouldn't get hit by the blizzard, but literally nothing else would. I couldn't really do anything else with it, so it was just kind of a waste. I think I throw out maybe a spell. Yeah, I'm showing off that the Innocence can't do anything with it. Alright, also I had some stuttering audio, so I had to cut it off briefly. I also had a few seconds of just me fumbling around trying to figure out what to do. I didn't actually notice what I did with Ramza. I don't remember what it was, but it's probably not important. The only thing Forge could do, because he couldn't move, was just use Hell Ivy, which actually stopped the Time Mage, which is good. Oh, that's what I did. I cast Shell to kind of give some additional defenses, which the Mime accidentally applied it to the Dark Wizard. Not that it really mattered. Blizzard goes off. Completely wipes out Hatsunoka Koro. Does some damage to the other Time Mage. But thanks to the shell, Forge was able to live, and here comes the Dark Holy. Not even a chance. So at this point, I am down to 4 party members, one of which can't move. The other can really only revive people at this point. I've lost Hatsunoka Koro, so I did take out 1 unit, so moral victory there. But I'm pretty close to resetting at this point, I think. So I try to move back, trying to get set up in the corner. Oh, yeah, and what I started doing is I actually moved in the bar, because I was like, yeah, this singing thing, this ain't happening. So I started using Revive, which unfortunately I had a bad combo of Zodiac combo with Hatsunoka Koro. So it luckily hit that first time. So we got our Mime back, which really is just going to buy us a little bit extra time. Because 100% hit chance with Throw Spirit kind of, ruins that. Unfortunately, punch arts they're only about half as effective if you don't have martial arts. So things like Revive and stuff end up not doing as much. But yeah, at this point we're kind of getting swarmed. All the ghosts have haste and all those buffs, and they're just gonna teleport in, start throwing spirits and applying status effects. They have melee attacks that do a variety of status effects depending on which one they do. There's like ones that do sleep, some that do stop, and some others. Yep. So Unholy Champion. Now, I didn't really pay much attention to this being done to the Dark Wizard, but I'll be showing off exactly what can happen with that particular buff, or debuff, however you wish to view it. But for right now, I'm too busy dying. So there's Demi. Luckily it missed, and did a little bit of damage, nothing too serious. Nabis is still doing its thing, doing a little bit of damage at a time, but it's not going to be enough in time. There's just too many enemies, and we're literally getting swarmed because the ghosts have haste, and so they're just going to keep teleporting closer and closer and throwing spirits. So this hits Forge, takes him out. I haven't given up yet, but I'm pretty close. So, at this point I was like, okay, if I can at least get Forge back up, I can do Elemental and do some damage, because Elemental does pretty good damage, and it's 100% accurate. That ghost tried to stop Ramza, but it missed. I was like, okay, got some time, got some breathing room. We're just going to move back and try to revive Forge. We do have martial arts, so we can do, or punch art, rather. 81% chance. Missed. Yep, I gave up right then and there. I was like, alright, yep, this is over, because Forge is still down. We are down to 3 people, and we're going to get swarmed. So, we are trying again, as you can see. One thing to note is I actually forgot to re-equip. The save I had was before I equipped the Kiromori. And so, Forge is right now equipped with the Heavens, whatever, katana instead. Doesn't make too much of a difference, but it is a difference. And at this point I was like, okay, well, I still want the mime, I still wanted the dancer, I still wanted the samurai, because I obviously wanted the elemental, I wanted the dances. But this time I put them as far back as possible. And the other thing and then the only other option I had was I either needed someone to just take hits for me, or I needed someone to possibly cast haste, which would have been Mosh. I actually had switched Mosh's secondary from Yin Yang magic to Time magic, with that thought in mind. But I was like, yeah, I mean, as I could cast, some haste, but after that, that's pretty much all Mosh can do, because obviously the Innocence makes it so pretty much all spells are negated. So I was like, well, I've been using Chizad, so, I mean, I went and just brought him in. He had pretty much he doesn't have the top gear yet, because I haven't been buying gear because it's expensive, and I don't make much money from the way I grind. So, but he has enough gear, and he's playing a class that has the highest HP, essentially, so he has, like 300-something HP. So yeah, he also has item, which can be used to hit enemies. So a few things that kind of changed is Rafa actually pushed in to attack. She did Asura, which is a truth ability. It hit 2 tiles that didn't have anyone on them, and that was it. So it did absolutely nothing, but it did mean Rafa's in front, which means she's just going to be bait. Now, moving my characters back kind of messed with their AI a bit. The AI really only thinks 1 turn at a time, and so it seems like they're like, okay, well, there's not really any threats nearby, so we're just gonna fall back and do a bunch of buffing. And so that's exactly what they did. They fell back and just started casting buffs on each other, including the wizards. And they teleport all the way to the corner, which means that buys us additional time to just get dances going and just get prepared for all the other stuff. The biggest issue is going to be the time mages, because they're actually closer. I start spreading my characters out just to kind of make sure I don't get caught in too many AoEs or anything like that. But yeah, the start was pretty strong. And this is when I noticed, oh, Time Mage is no meteor, because that's the largest AoE spell, and it does quite a bit of damage, but it's slow. So at this point, I'm like, okay, I need to somehow deal with that. My options are pretty limited, unfortunately. That one's just casting Don't Move, I believe. I'm just doing dances now, which of course, do the same 22 damage. Also, I think in one of my battles I got sprint shoes, which give +1 speed as an accessory, and I have those equipped to... I think I have them equipped to Erin right now, so she can get her turns as quickly as possible. So she can start the dances. So yeah, with the combination of the Mime and the Dancer, it's 37 damage every time we get the Wisnabis to tick. So they're kind of repositioning. That one's casting a Cyclone. Fortunately, the AI doesn't really know how to handle things like Innocence. And I actually completely forgot about the other side effect of Innocence. But I was like, okay, whatever. Rafa will just tank the hit. Just, probably get killed by the 2 Cyclones. That was my thought process. I was like, that's fine. It's just buying us some time. Rather have her be taken down than anyone else. Obviously, I'm bringing in Chizad. I'm kind of deciding between either being at the side or behind her. Really just so I can position the elemental attack. Chizad is equipped with an ancient sword. It's one of the ones I'm currently borrowing for a battle, I think, or from a character. It's the strongest sword I have right now, and it can apply Don't Move. Did a little extra damage because of the channeling. And at this point, I go ahead and move forward. I'm right now counting tiles to figure out how far I need to move to get in position to do elemental. Because we do need to kill that person. Or rather, we just need to do enough damage so that dances can take it out. Erin's right now has Don't Move applied, but doesn't really matter. I don't intend on moving her, so... I'm a little concerned about this Time Mage that's literally in the same corner as us, but there's not really much we can do about it. I can do some damage to her, but that's about it. So at this point I'm just like, okay, whatever. Let's deal with this. I did miscount my steps a little bit. I could have afforded to take one less because of the AoE aspect of Elemental, but that's completely fine. I was able to do enough damage to take her out. One of the things I was also concerned about is that this battle could be a damage race, because undead have a chance of getting back up whenever they, if they're undead, or when their timer runs out. And if that happens, they'll be at full health and have an action. But there's also a chance it doesn't do that, and they'll just, you know, despawn, or yeah, they'll just despawn or whatever. Anyway, Cyclones are coming up next. There's not really much I can do about it. But I do note that the Time Mage here doesn't have any buffs, so I can actually hit her with spells. So I'm trying to figure out a spell that'll take her out. I was really kind of overthinking it, because really that Spirit Surge would have done enough, because it would have taken her down to 7, and then the dance would have taken her out. But it's kind of just playing it safe. Also, some of these casters have equipped axe for some reason, and I don't know why. All these enemies have float. And I believe you do extra damage with Cyclone against targets that are floating. So I just do Cyclone. And here comes the Cyclone. Does 0 damage. Now the reason it's doing 0 damage is because both those mages have Innocence. Which means their faith is considered 0 right now. Which means they're immune to magic, but their magic is completely ineffective. So yeah. It was just a wasted action for the most part for them. And yeah, they can't actually do anything. I was kind of confused at that time, because I completely forgot about that aspect about Innocence. And Rafa was... I was just like, I had to look at Rafa's gear. And I was like, does she have something that makes her immune to, you know, wind? And no, there isn't. It's just because of the Innocence. I don't know why they attempted to cast anything. Even when Innocence was active, maybe the AI just doesn't take that into account. It's either that, or they just really, really wanted to apply float to her, which didn't happen anyway. Yeah, so the Cyclone did take out the Time Mage, but I did accidentally hit my own Chizad with it because of Mimicry. But we did take out the 2 Time Mages. Both of them are taken out, so there's just the 3 Ghosts and the 2 Wizards, one of which has, what's it called? HP Restore. So, just kind of, just going to keep on dancing, just do as much damage as possible. I do point out that Rafa does. I gave Rafa a Dracula Mantle, which increases magic evasion by 30%, but physical evasion is only 15%. Also, she has Abandon, which actually can increase her evasion chances. So she's actually pretty tanky as far as evasion is concerned. I'm just keeping Hatano Kokoro and Aaron in the back. They're just gonna do their dances. We're just gonna whittle them down. Luckily, the ghosts don't actually have a lot of HP in comparison to other enemies. So at this point, we're doing pretty good. Also, since both the Time Mages are down, they can't cast Demi on any of the undead to heal them, since Demi is Dark Elemental. But at this point, they're now ready to actually finally push forward, so they're gonna do that. Or rather, they're going to keep applying buffs. So everyone has those buffs now. They're all immune to magic. Sleep Touch, 59%. Misses. I'd rather them attempt that at this point than, you know, hitting me with 100% ranged attack with the other nonsense. I also completely forgot that Rafa has precision. I should have given her item, but she's right now doing Time Strike. Get hit with the axe, doesn't really do much damage. Obviously, wizards don't exactly have high attack power, even with an axe. But yeah, they started resorting to actual physical attacks, so I was like, okay, whatever. I mean, at this point, it still hadn't clicked in my head that Innocence, you know, is the reason why they're doing 0 damage with their spells. It was really kind of it was helpful. I mean, it kept Rafa alive, and Rafa is now essentially being bait, which is really helpful. As we just whittle down everything with dances. Time strike. And it missed. And actually I ended up hitting the wizard because the wizard was moved in front. Alright. They're actually now finally attacking us, which is a really good situation because we've already... You can see their health has dropped considerably. That guy's down to 44 HP. I mean, a few more of those Wiznabis ticks and there's not going to be anything left. But I'm going to play it safe. I'm keeping Hachinokakura in the back. I had nothing really better to do with Chizad. Like I said, Chizad was just there to mostly take hits. I went ahead and just did a physical attack. I could have just used item, but I was like, oh, whatever, I'll just swing my sword. If it doesn't work, the Wiznabis will kill it. 28% chance, hits. So Chizad's one attack this round is connected, so I mean that saves us a little bit of trouble. Also, Forge is able to move this time, so I'm able to move in and try to potentially do some petrifies and some free damage. No petrifies, but it's 100% accurate and does okay damage, so... At this point, I was like, Ramsa doesn't really have anything to do. I mean, I can cast some buffs if I really want to, but there's not really anything else that he could do. All the remaining enemies are immune to magic at the moment, and yeah, I just wait. There's nothing he can do. Dances are doing their thing. Okay, another ghost has been taken out. Just like with the time mages that are undead, the ghosts can potentially get back up if their timer runs out. So I'm just keeping up the pressure at this point. The wizard went into critical, and he's the one that had HP restore, so he's back to full health. Bit of a setback, but nothing too serious at this point. Also, since that wizard's critically wounded, or not that wizard, that ghost was critically wounded, it decided to just run. Because that's how the AI usually works. The haste finally wore off, which is nice, so that evens things up quite a bit. Of course, fleeing to the corner doesn't do anything against dances, so that ghost is going to die one way or the other. And that just leaves the two wizards. And I was like, okay, well, these two wizards have innocence at this point, and I do realize that innocence actually, does stuff. I was like, well, I was like, wow, we kind of have this battle in the bag. Because these two wizards can't do anything. Ref is going to attack. Now, I don't know why it drains MP. I was really confused about that. Because the rod doesn't have anything special about draining MP, so I don't know why that happened. Now, what threw me off in this particular moment is... I was like, oh, 0 damage spell. I was like, what? That was when they finally clicked. I was like, oh, these guys have innocence. That's why the spells are doing 0 damage. Because I was like, 0 damage? Why is it doing 0? So he's actually casting Dark Holy, and that one is casting either Cyclone or Blizzard. And that's when, right then, the innocence wore off. And so these spells are actually going to do damage. So it was a little bit clever, but I'm pretty sure the AI did it by accident in this case. And at this point, I'm actually explaining what's happening. I completely forgot that Innocence actually has a duration. So usually it lasts so long that you're just like, whatever, I can't do anything. So it just completely wipes Hachinokakura out. And then Blizzard comes in. Does tons of damage. Takes out Ramza, heavily wounds Eren. Wiznabis still going. But yeah, that those buffs wearing off just then really did quite a bit of damage. I would quickly check to see if this Dark Wizard had HP restore, which it doesn't, so kind of good on that front. I move Eren to the corner just to keep things out of the way. She does have items, I believe, but We do have Chizad, and Chizad's movement's pretty high because I did make an effort to get him move +3. So he's a highly mobile tank now. So I'll just let the dances keep going because it's my primary source of damage. And really it's just a matter of making sure we kill these wizards before any potential undead get back up, which we're definitely making pretty good time on that. I checked times. I'm checking CTs to see who goes first. Looks like Ramses is going to be going first, so I go for him. Now something else to note is since Innocence is worn off, Ramses can now actually do things and cast spells on them. So things like Holy will definitely clean things up here. And at this point I was like, well, I'm in a good position, so I might as well do Draw Out. But the problem was finding a spell, one that actually would be helpful. Our Sword Knife is Fire Elemental, and both of them have White Robe, so it would be half damage. Bison Boat does only MP damage. Murasame heals people, which actually healing people would actually be helpful in this situation. And then Kotetsu Knife is Dark Elemental, which would just heal them. So Heaven's Cloud was my only option, which I had one spare, so I was hoping I didn't break it. It's also when I noticed I still had Heaven's Cloud equipped instead of Kiyomori. So yeah, this is just non-elemental damage. There you go. Takes out that person. Also applies slow, which is very useful. And the rest of the mage's buffs have worn off. Rafa moves in to attack. He's doing she's doing Time Strike. Wiznabis is doing its thing. Now the concern here is Wiznabis is constantly going off, and as it goes off while the wizard's critical, there's a chance it will trigger HP Restore, which is exactly what happened. The Time Strike hit, brought him down to critical, didn't trigger. Wiznabis, surprisingly enough, didn't trigger it. And then I was like, alright, well, that's game. There's not much else to say about it. It was a rough fight. Really, the fact they went back, they backed into their own corner and took the time to buff, while I just kind of went into my corner and just did a whole bunch of dances. Really kind of worked out. I went ahead and did Chain Lightning just so I can end this fight faster. And there you go. So yeah, pretty brutal fight, especially if you're not, depending on what your build is. I think when I did this last time, I think I had a lot of physical attackers, which really limited my options. I think I had one person that had white magic, but obviously I couldn't do much with it because of all the innocence and all that nonsense. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I'm right now just probably rambling on about some stuff like I am right now. I'm going to show the war trophies for this. I thought it was going to be nothing but Phoenix Downs. I think that's what it was when we fought the undead in the swamp, which is probably why I got mixed up. This battle actually gives you pretty decent rewards. We end up getting the Black Robe, a Magic Gauntlet, and a Power Source. The Power Source we can just sell. The Magic Gauntlet, so of course +2 magic attack accessory. And the Black Robe is probably our highest tier of cloth item at this moment, or robed item at this point. It also strengthens fire, lightning, and ice. That's about its only benefits. And that's just about it. So I'm the Prestior. This was Final Fantasy Tactics. See you guys later.